My name is Simon Olberding, and together with Jürgen Steiner, we enabled erasing capabilities for the Anoto pen. So you already heard about the Anoto pen, the pen with a dot pattern, and we built also, so there were quite a numerous talks already that mentioned the bridging between the digital and the physical documents, and this is kind of another bridge. So currently Anoto pens do not provide support for deleting handwriting, so there's only the one way. So having a ballpoint pen that has really permanent ink, and we are unable to actually erase the handwritten content. So if we have the physical and the digital edition, then this might lead to that the physical and digital one get out of sync, since we can only add content on the physical side, for example adding strokes, but we can interpret these strokes on the digital side and can say, oh, this is a gesture, it meant to delete some kind of digital content, so you get slightly out of sync. Moreover, there could be novel interaction techniques based on the erasing. I come to that later in the presentation. And the goal of this talk is actually to open up this design space and to stimulate research in this area. So in order to do that, the first thing that you need is to have an erasing pen. So this is a bit, so it's really a construction. So instead of having really novel pens, so that might be, it's really complicated to build this kind of pen, we came up with refills. So we have two kinds of refills, one writing refill and one erasing refill. And you can see them here. We built two types of them, one pencil and a rubber, which is really known, everybody of us already used it a couple of times, I guess. And an eraser that's more like a ballpoint pen, since we're not using all the time pens and erasing, we also use traditional ballpoints. And this is based on the friction technology. You can write with it and you can rub over it with a kind of rubber, and the heat that is generated erases the content. Yeah, and you can switch these refills in the pen. You can, for example, currently we have one pen for writing, one for erasing, but in the future it might look like, as you saw in the motivation, the picture on the right, that you have an erasing tip on the top. So, what's notable about this approach is it's very cheap, costs about €2 one refill, and you can do it in a very short time. So it took us about 30 minutes to construct two of these refills. So it's really easy. And we also conducted several quality tests to assure that this could resist, so that the refill could resist the forces that occur by writing and also by erasing. And we ensure that the pattern stays intact. But so we meant this to be a research prototype. So it's not. So we didn't test it for really industrial usage, so for the hardcore pen users that really rub over the paper. So, so the next step is coming up with first interaction techniques. So these are just the first one that you thought about. The first thing is to have a facsimile of the handwritten content. So as in the beginning I mentioned that the digital and the physical content might get out of sync. And so we want to keep it in sync. So you can write something and you can also erase it with a rubber, for example. The second type of interaction is to give the erasing a semantic interpretation. So that means we can attribute a semantic meaning to a node that might be between fully visible and fully deleted, and we have this kind of gray area in between. And we can use this for example, prioritizing the node. If it's fully visible, priority is high. If it's medium visible, priority is kind of middle. So to sum it up, all in all, so what I want to say is, first of all, we have now a very cheap and easy method for constructing these refills for further exploring the erasing-based interaction. And I want to stimulate the research in this area, and that's basically it. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
So questions are welcome. Of course.
One quick question.
One quick question.
Maybe about the gray zone you mentioned. How can you make sure that I assume you take the pressure of the pen to detect how much you should erase. How can you make sure
So
that the physical thing is in sync with your digital copy.
Yeah, it's actually this is a kind of so you never get it actually really the same, since the rubbing over the paper depends on the rubber and the paper, so it's very
So it's a kind of an estimate based
it's
on
kind of it's kind of fuzzy, and it also depends of course on the person who rubbed over it, and the pressure sensor in these pens is also quite fuzzy. So anybody who already experimented with a Anoto pen might have recognized it. So but it's not really in sync so that it's one-to-one matching. It's a bit fuzzy, yeah, but we're closer. Yeah? One more question. No?
Is that the case? Thank you,
Okay.
Simon.
Thank you.
And now we have Mink.